Hey folks, we are officially live. Thank you so much for everyone for joining our today's Generative AI and Agentic AI Specialization program, the course demo. This program is going to be really awesome. Only if you stay till end of this particular program, this program is going to be for next 3 hours. So let's get started. Okay, I would like to get started with this particular program by asking a one simple question. So what do you think? You tell me, try to answer this particular question in the chat window. Who will win this AI era? So what do you think? The people who use AI, they will win the AI era, are the peoples who build AI. Who do you think will win this AI era? So go ahead and answer this particular questions. So you know that in the meantime you answer this question. So today millions of peoples are using let's say tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, or other AI agents that we know. So but the biggest opportunities are going to those who know how to build these AI applications like AI agents, real world AI solutions actually. And that's what we're going to explore in our today's session. So over the next few hours, I will be showing you what is happening in this AI world. So what organizations are looking for and how exactly you can position yourself in this AI builder as an AI builder rather than an AI user. See, one request from my side, folks, please stay till the end of this particular session, because towards the end I will be sharing you a complete roadmap, industry insight, and obviously few special surprises exclusively for those who are going to stay till end of this particular program. See, remember this in your mind. So this is what future is going to be. The future belongs to those who are going to build an AI, someone who is going to leverage an AI. But future is never going to belongs to someone who is going to simply use an AI. So stay focused, eliminate distractions, and let's dive into the world of Gen AI and agentic AI. So let's get started. So obviously, before we getting started, so let me just introduce you because you will be traveling with me. So let's introduce. Okay, I believe yes. Hi, folks. Yes, this is Sharath. I will be your trainer for this entire program. Say, I'm one of the founder of Psitron Technologies. You can learn more about us. Just go to www.psitrontech.com. So anything related to AI. So I'm an expert here. So I used to take it in this particular organization. So we work in two phases: corporate training, retail training. So we work with corporates. We build applications for them as well as the retail training. So I have personally trained more than 5,000 plus working professionals. I mean, in order to being transformed into the AI world. So you can be one. Are you ready? So let's get started. So obviously, I will be turning off my camera here. So let's get started. Obviously, this is what we will be diving deep into the next 3 hours of session. So what is this generative AI is all about? What it takes to master. Okay, what it takes to master 360-degree into Gen AI and agentic AI, and what career opportunities are going to look like in Gen AI and agentic AI is what exactly that we're going to be getting started with. So let's get started. So obviously, okay, here we go. A random picture. How does this random picture is related? Yes, it is related. So this is a task for you. So I want you to take 5 seconds, observe this picture, and this is what I want you to do. Go ahead and use your chat window. I want you to describe what is this exactly a picture is about. So what you could able to recognize in this picture. So what do you find? Try to use your chat window. 5 seconds. Let's see who is going to give a best description for this particular picture. Go ahead. Yeah. In the meantime, let me have some water. Okay, so here we go. Suresh is saying it's a dark park. Prithvi is saying, okay, it's a beautiful park where I can able to spend the time with my kids. Perfect description, Prithvi. And I can see Sailaja is saying, okay, that's a park where I can chill with my pets and a morning walk. That's awesome. So obviously we know this is a beautiful a picture of a park. There's no doubt about it. So we can see there are a lot of trees, and there are obviously different dogs, not just a dogs. I can see a different breeds of dog, a dog which is carrying a ball in his mouth, and I can able to see a men, and I can able to see a women, and I can see a few peoples are just spending a time and sitting in the grass, and I can see a path where we can walk. Okay, that's perfect. So we know this is a picture of a park. So how does that really related to what we today talking about, an agentic AI, a Gen AI, or even an AI? Right, so we are talking about us. So as a human beings, right, so we are the best examples of what we today call it as an AI. So you know one thing, human beings are good at one thing, copying a things. Yes, every innovation outside in this world is just a copy of a nature. The AI that we are trying to build, that where exactly we are heading towards, basically, let's say we are talking about, everyone might have watched the Transformer movie where AI is coming to destroy the world. So that's where exactly we are heading. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, not in a bad way, not for destroying the world, obviously to leveraging this world to the next level. So obviously that's where we're heading. So we are trying to replicate ourselves. It's what exactly we are talking about, an AI, right? So consider that. Let's say what if, let's say my question is, let's go to the further steps. So what if I take this exact picture that I showed you right now? So if I go ahead and display the same exact picture to this newborn baby, do you think this newborn baby could able to recognize the same exact things? Obviously, can it say it's a picture of a park, it's a picture of a dog, it's a picture of a park where I can spend the time with my kids, with my pets, etc. Can the kid could able to recognize? Zero, right? Hardly a newborn baby, a less than 1 year old, barely could able to recognize his mothers and fathers. But apart from that, a baby doesn't know anything else. But what if I go ahead and take this picture and I will display this particular picture to the maybe a bit of a grown up kid who goes to maybe a primary school. So obviously, whether this kid could able to recognize the picture, absolutely yes, this kid could able to say this is a picture of a park where I used to play with my kid, where I will play with my friends, for an example, right? Exactly. Obviously the way kid is describing this picture will be completely different than how you describe as a grown up adult. So you might say it's a beautiful picture of a park where I can go and spend a time with my dogs, with my friends, with my family, right? So obviously consider that. So as a growth cycle of a human being exponentially grows up. So let's say every day we learn something, eventually we get better in that. See, as a human beings, you can able to make a decisions behalf of you. You can able to predict what's going to happen, because you're not simply here just to spend your time, right? So you know that AI is the future. That's why you want to learn AI, you want to leverage your life over there. That's why exactly you are here. So you are made the decision to spend this valuable 3 hours of time here, expecting you're going to learn something, it's going to impact your world. I mean, exactly, right? That's why we are here. So what we are trying to do, so we are as a humans, let's say, obviously just consider that we are the best examples of what I'm talking about an AI. See, we born with an empty brain, so practically not empty, but consider that we born with an empty brain with the consciousness of this world. So from a day one we started learning things. We learn how to start recognizing peoples, learning how to walk, physics, biology, chemistry, mathematics, IT, etc., right? And we are here, you are trying to learn generative AI, right? And you can able to make a decisions, predictions behalf of you. So this is what exactly what human beings are trying to do for this dumb machines. Yes, they are dumb machines, because these machines could hardly understand zeros or ones. Apart from that, a machine doesn't know anything else, right? So whatever the data that we have learned, so we learn a data, isn't it? So do we learn a data or not? What do you think? See, we learn the data in many different ways, correct? So we visually consume a data. So currently you're observing my slides, you're also hearing the things through audio, you're consuming a data, and obviously visually through your eyes, and obviously through sense by touching things, right, by feeling things. So we consume a data in many different ways, also by smelling things. Probably by this time maybe a biryani might be getting cooked in your kitchen, I'm just kidding, but you can also smell the things and you can able to consume a data. So where machines are learning this particular data, I mean, so where we are learning the data in different ways, yes, this machines also trying to learn the same exact data that we have learned, and these machines are trying to understand the pattern from that particular data, and these machines are trying to predict the future, right? So for an example, let's get a simple examples where we can able to understand this. Let's say this machine learns the same kind of a data that we learn. So for an example, let's say I will take a CSV file. So maybe the CSV file has around 30,000 data points, and let's say this has the last 3 years old data. So what is this data is all about? Right? So maybe consider that this is a data of an electricity consumption in your home. So let's say I put my sensors in your home. I collect amount of electricity that you consume. So how much electricity your water geyser, any electrical electronic appliances that consumes. Let's say I collected all this data. So I'm going to teach this data to a machine. A machine can be a simple computer of yours, or maybe a cloud-based server, or maybe it can be an edge devices like this. So this machine tries to understand the pattern from that particular data. So once this machines understands the pattern, they create what we call it as a machine learning model, which is going to be a part of final end product. So now we have this machine learning model. So what this machine learning models can do? So now this machine learning models can able to make a prediction. It can able to predict what's going to happen in the future. So my question is this: as a user, I will be asking this particular model, tell me, this is my current month data, electricity consumption data. Tell me what my electricity consumption is going to look like for the next 6 months. Yes. So here a machine can able to make a forecast saying that what's your next month bill is going to look like, second month bill is going to look like, and next 6 months is going to look like. It can able to make a predictions of how your electricity bills are going to look like for the next 6 months. A simple forecasting, right? Otherwise, let's forget about this data. Let's say I will be teaching let's say this machine a difference between a cat and a dog. So let's say I will be taking a bunch of pictures of a cat and a bunch of pictures of a dog. So I'm going to teach a difference between a cat and a dog. So my machine tries to understand the pattern, how the cat looks like, how the dog looks like, for an example. And again, this machine produces a machine learning model. So then what I do, I put a camera in front of my model, then I'm going to put a cat. Let's assume this is a cat with a whiskers, maybe meow. Perfect. So now my machine learning model could able to predict, okay, saying that there is a cat which is standing in front of your camera. So anything that we can do with images and videos, what we call it as computer vision, right? And today we are talking about in the world of generative AI. So first of all, why we call it as generative AI? An AI which can able to generate any content, like a text, an image, a video, an audio. So any kind of a content that never exists, we simply call that as a generative AI, right? So obviously this kind of a generative AI models, which is produced by these machines, will learn from diverse amount of data. A machine will learn a text and images, etc., that we're talking about, right? So these machines could able to learn a massive amount of data that's outside in the internet. So that's what exactly what we're going to dive today. Let's try to understand what is this generative AI is all about, right? So in order to understand the world of generative AI, so first of all, definitely we need to understand evolution and architecture of this generative AI. Let's get started. So obviously this evolution started from 1956, where artificial intelligence has been obviously coined, and it's been where a lot of researches are going on. Let's say then we are talking about machine learning, deep learning in 2017, and today finally we are talking about year 2021. This is generative AI. So that's where you can see like where initial company like an OpenAI, ChatGPT came to the market, right? That's where things started. Let's try to understand. Let's say I'm talking about an early stage of an AI models. So there are something called RNNs. They call it as recurrent neural networks. Consider that when I'm talking about the world of generative AI, and an AI which can generate a text, image, video, etc. Let's say when I'm talking about this text understanding and text generation models, right? So these RNNs are early models which scientists has built. But there is a problem with these RNNs. They had a difficulties to understand longer piece of text because they processed words one by one and could able to figure, I mean, they couldn't able to figure out, let's say, the important information. So basically in order to solve this particular problem, researchers actually developed a new architecture. So what we today call it as a transformers, I mean, not a transformer movie. They are deep learning models, what we call it as transformers. So basically this transformers introduces a powerful feature, what we call it as an attention mechanism. Understanding this pretty much simple. So basically this attention mechanism helps these models to focus on the more important words in a sentences and understand how different words are related, even if they are far apart, basically. So unlike these older models that I'm talking about, like an RNNs, so transformers can actually process all the words in a sentence at the same time, making them faster and better at understanding the context. See, in the today's world, so what we today call it as LLMs, which we stands for, let's say, large language models. One of an example is GPT, right? So GPTs are basically built using this transformer architectures. So these models are trained on a massive amount of text. Just imagine, let's say when I'm talking about the world of generative AI, these models are trained on a massive amount of text, maybe from a books, articles, websites. Just imagine entire data in Wikipedia, entire data in GitHub, and other sources. So during training, they actually learn grammars, facts, language patterns, and relationship between the words as well. As a result, this large language models can understand questions, generate human-like responses, and summarize informations, translate languages, right? And even write the code. That's where exactly, that today we are talking about Cloud Code, Cursor, all these AI applications can write the code, which is actually powered by LLMs. Okay, let's dive deep. Let's try to understand. See, here I'm coining two things. What is generative AI? Then what is this large language models? There might be some confusion across that, right? Let's try to understand that. So what is generative AI? So generative AI, refers to an AI systems that can able to create a new content rather than simply analyzing an existing data. This systems basically can generate a text, generate image, audio, video, and even a code that we're talking about. So basically they learn patterns from that large data set and use that knowledge to basically to produce a human like a content. Some of the examples, GPT-4o model can be one of a model for generating a text and a code. So Mid Journey is a one of the model which can able to good example for generating an images. Nano Banana, you know it from Gemini, right? So then what is this large language models? See, large language models are a type of generative AI. So let's say large language models comes under a radar of generative AI, but they are actually designed specifically for understanding and generating a human language text. They are actually trained on a massive amount of text data, and actually they can able to perform tasks like answering questions, summarizing documents, and translating languages, and even writing the code. That's where large language models comes in the picture. See what happens, this large language models actually contains what we call it as parameters. So there are billions of parameters that actually helps them to understand the language pattern, generate let's say we are talking about a contextual relevant responses. So basically let's say today the world is running on top of large language models when it comes to the world of Gen AI. So commonly used in chatbots, content generation, document summarization, and any coding assistant that we are talking about. Okay. So and again, we do understand what is generative AI and large language models. Large language models are type of generative AI models. So, but there is something that you need to understand here, what we call it as foundation models. Foundation models are what we're talking about. They are large general purpose AI models trained on a vast amount of data. So basically this foundation models are actually serves as a foundation that can be adapted or fine tuned for many different applications such as chatbots, coding assistants, medical tools, and image generation systems. See what happens here. OpenAI has initially created a GPT model, which is a text generation model. So what happened later, OpenAI adapted this GPT model to create a ChatGPT. See, ChatGPT is not a model. ChatGPT is an application. What ChatGPT does? So ChatGPT act like a chatbot. You ask a question, AI responses. You ask a question, AI responses. So GPT model is trained on a massive amount of data that is available on internet, right? Let's say we are talking about text from books, internet, blogs, forums, etc. And again, this GPT models can do things outside the box. So GPT models has adapted and optimized to work like a chatbot. That's what exactly what we call it as chat GPT, right? So the basically the relationship between the generative AI, LLMs, and foundation models. See, generative AI is a broad category of AI systems that creates a new content. LLMs are type of generative AI models focus on language tasks. Foundation models are general purpose models that can be adapted for many tasks. So I will go to the black screen. So let me help you understand in a very simple way. So let's say when I'm talking about generative AI, consider that any kind of an AI model that can able to generate a text. Let's say here we are talking about a text to text model. Let's say if you input a text, they generate a text, GPT models. Let's say then we are talking about a text to image generation models, right? So let's say we are talking about you input a text, it can generate an image. So then we are talking about, okay, a text to a video generation model. So you input a text, they can generate a video. So then we are talking about, okay, a text to, yes, an audio generation model. You input a text, they can generate an audio, right? So we can give few more example. Let's say we're talking about image to image model. So you input an image, so your AI can able to modify that image, right? Add some more content to that, etc. So consider that any AI that generates a new content, correct? So here we generate a text, here we generate an image, video, audio. So all these AI models can be called as a generative AI models, any AI that generates a content that never exists, right? And again, in order to build this generative AI models, organization first they build what we call it as foundation models. So they trained on a massive amount of text, image, video, audio, any data. And again, we adapt this foundation models to create your own, let's say, customer centric application. So chat GPT is one of it. So what is the purpose of ChatGPT? To help anyone on the internet chat with an AI, generate a text, generate an image if you want. You can do multiple things with ChatGPT, isn't it? Yes. So that's how it's going to work. So with that, now let's get started. Let's try to dive deep into understanding how exactly this large language models actually work. Let me have some water. Okay, so now let's go ahead and discuss. So basically, a large language model works like a very advanced autocomplete system. So what do you mean by autocomplete system? So obviously, let's say here I ask a question. The sky, the sky, the sky is dash. So what would be the answer? If I ask a question, the sky is dash. Yes, we are talking about the sky is blue. Yes, LLMs autocomplete these words. Let's try to understand in a very deep way. So there are autocomplete systems. So let's say when you type a question, basically what happens, the model actually first breaks the text into smaller pieces, what we call it as tokens. These tokens are converted into numbers so your computer can able to process them. See, your AI doesn't understand the text. Your AI doesn't understand the image, video, nothing. Your AI understands everything in the form of number. So for an example, let's say my input text to an AI is hello AI world. So AI, first of all, split this into what we call it as token. So AI understands in the form of numbers. So for every word, just for ease of understanding, just imagine for every word there is a equivalent number. So for an example here, hello can be understood by 9906. So AI can be understood by 15592. A world can be 1917. That's how your AI understands a text, not in the form of text, right? So that's what we're talking about, tokens. Let's say the word hello AI world has three tokens. So first we convert into numbers so your computer can able to process that numbers. Basically what happens, the model then analyzes the context and predicts the most likely next token. That means what? The sky is, the predicted word will be blue, right? Exactly what did I said? Every AI models makes predictions. So, including this generative AI models, especially the large language models that I'm talking about, it makes one, let's say, just imagine an ease of understanding, one word at a time. It predicts each and every word. That's how it's going to work. So, to make it predictions, basically what happens, model uses what we call it as probabilities learned from the massive amount of text data. Basically consider that a setting called a temperature. There is a parameter that we pass, a temperature. So this is how the creativity is being controlled. So for an example, you can have a lower temperature, higher temperature. When you have a lower temperature, produces a more predictable and focused answer. What happens when you have a highest temperature? That allows for a more creative and varied responses. So obviously there are two things that we need to understand how the traditional, let's say the large language models work. So there is something called encoder and there is something called decoder. What is that? So those are the two important components of this transformer based large language models. So most of the large language models that's outside in the market, they use this transformer mechanisms, encoder and decoder. Let's try to understand. See, encoder take cares of input, decoder take cares of output. As simple as that. See, encoder acts like a reader otherwise. So consider that it reads the user input. So whatever you provide it as an input. And again, what happens? It also has a capability to understand the meaning of the words that you input and also captures the relationship between them. And then what happens? This encoder actually creates a context rich representation of that input. So where your decoder can able to easily understand that. So what happens then? Your encoder feeds that to a decoder. Basically, a decoder acts like a writer. So basically, it uses this understanding to generate a new text. It actually predicts and produces a one token at a time, as I mentioned. It predicts one word at a time otherwise. So using the both input context, yes, and the words it is already generated. So in the simple terms, encoder understands the input, decoder generates the output. So think of it like a very simple way. Consider that a student taking an exam, a student who's taking an exam. So basically, like an encoder reads and understands the question, while the decoder writes the answer. So together, they enable LLMs to perform a task such as answering questions, translating languages, and summarizing a documents and generating a human like a text. That's how every LLMs work. Okay, so we talked about generative AI. So generative AI is what? An AI that can generate a different text. Yes, there are text generation models which generates only text. One of the best example is GPT 3.5. I can provide a lot of example, Mistral 7B, etc. Let's say when I want to give an example of image or video generation models. Yes, today you can generate images, Probably you might have used ChatGPT or Gemini, but I'm talking about an actual models. Veo 3.1, a model from Google, which can generate a video plus audio together. A Mid Journey are Imagine models from Google for generating images. And audio and speech recognition models like Whisper models for multilingual speech recognition use cases. And there is something called multi-modularity. Consider that multi-modularity, putting in a very simple way, a model which can able to understand both input text as well as in images. So most of the models today that we get in a market like Gemini, Claude models, which can actually understand both, let's say we're talking about from a vision based input as well as a text based input. And then we're talking about, yes, another aspect is you can able to also customize your own generative AI model as per your use cases, right? So we talk about something called fine tuning. We'll talk about that one in the next step. See, there are a lot of model providers outside in the market, folks. Okay, OpenAI, that DeepSeek, open source, Grok from Elon Musk, Gemini models, AI 21 Labs, Cohere, Anthropic. I can keep on mentioning Chinese open source models like Q and Amazon models like Amazon Noah, etc. Okay, with that. Perfect, right? Interesting, right? Now let's talk about there is something called foundation models versus large language models. I know that you might have a question still. What is this foundation models and what is this LLMs, right? Let's try to understand that. See, a foundation models are trained on a huge amount of data. See, any machine learning model can become a foundation model. It can be, may not be a generative AI models alone, right? It can be traditional machine learning models, some models which can able to do image recognition, face recognition. They are not necessarily a generative AI models, right? See, all these foundation models are trained on a huge amount of data, such as it can be text, images, audio, videos. So without requiring a humans to manually label that particular data, right? So what do you mean by labeling? Let's say if I'm teaching a picture of a cat to my machine, so I don't want to pass a label, a text label saying it's a cat, because how does a machine knows? Because when it is making a prediction, obviously as a humans we need to understand it's a cat and dog, right, in the form of text. That's why we pass a label. A picture of a cat and a text label, it's a cat, right? So here, when we're talking about at the time of training, so humans, there is no need for manually label the data. So what happens during the training where AI learns this huge amount of data, they learn the pattern, they learn the relationship, and again a context from the information that they process basically. So what happens, these models are built using a very large neural network, so containing billions of parameters in it. So what is a neural network? Just imagine how the neurons in your brain works. Consider what happens. We do have a neurons, yes, which carries an electrical signal from one neuron to another neuron. Just imagine you have billions of neurons. Just imagine how this billions of neuron looks like when they are connected each other. Yeah, that's how the neural network also works in the software. So where you have a billions of parameters, they are connected. So which actually helps them in understanding and generate a complex content. So because they learn general knowledge and skills, they can serve as a foundation for many different AI applications. So after training, what happens? This foundation models can be customized. Or yes, this is where what's happening. They fine tune for a specific task, such as okay, I want to build a chatbots like ChatGPT. So our, let's say, language translation, coding assistant, medical analysis, or image generation, right? So we have a foundation model, we fine tune it, optimize it, and we go ahead and build an application that we needed, like GPT, or today what we call it as agents and multi agents, etc. Okay, so we do understand what is this foundation models versus large language models. Even for one more better understanding, see, consider that I talked about initially OpenAI built GPT models, GPT and GPT 3.5, which does a lot of things. It writes code, you ask it to write stories, it will write the story. You ask anything related to the text, it will do that. So what OpenAI has done, so OpenAI has took this GPT 3.5 model, they optimized it to work like a chat based application. Similarly, an organization can adapt any foundation model to work for their organization. right? So here in this example, you can see, and let's say a health sector, maybe let's say an health sector has taken a foundation model, which is an open source model, closed source model, it can be anything. So they use their own data sources. Let's say, just imagine a health sector data that I'm talking about. So there can be a data from care providers, institutions, they might have different hospitals, different pharmacies, different insurance departments, wearable sensors, right? So BP meters, ECG, etc., that we are talking about, our publication related to medical forums. So then we are talking about modularities like X-ray images, our video ultrasound scans, our other kind of tab. Let's say we are talking about tablets and other text data, ECGs. Just imagine all the kind of a medical data set. See what this foundation model has. This foundation model, which is trained by someone else in the internet, someone else by the organizations. This foundation models, they are only aware about the publicly available data. So do you think these foundation models will know your own data? No. Your own organization data? No. Right. So obviously this foundation models knows general knowledge, whatever that is available on internet, but it has no idea definitely 100% what's your organization data looks like. That's what exactly organizations does. They take a foundation model, they fine tune that or optimize that foundation model with their own organization data. And now this foundation model has been updated with the knowledge with your own organization data, that what we call it as simply a fine tuning. So now your foundation model has become a fully fine tuned model with the complete awareness of your data. So now you go ahead and build any kind of an application that you needed. So this is where maybe you go ahead and build an application that can able to answer any questions related to the care providers, or maybe related to patients, or it might help in a biomedicine in terms of predicting a drug discovery, for conducting clinical trials, or personalized medicals recommendations that we can able to build for them, right? So that's what exactly an organization does. You have a foundation model, optimize it and use it for however you want for your application. Interesting, right? Yes, with that, now let's move on to the second thing that we are talking about. So this is where, I mean, fasten your seat belts. Now let's get started with an actual Gen AI and agentic AI that we can able to learn. See, here we are talking about our program promises you a 360-degree view of Gen AI and agentic AI that is needed for the production, right? So now let's get started. The things you must master for this year. I'm talking about the things that you need to master in this year for you to become a generative AI and agentic AI specialist. So this is where we'll be getting started with prompt engineering. Just remember this jargons. This is really important, right? This is what exactly any generative AI program should offer. So prompt engineering, mastering RAG, agentic AI, multi-agent orchestration, production deployment of those generative AI, agentic AI applications, and LLM ops. We are talking about monitoring, observability, tracing, session. See, one of the biggest problems today, what AI and AI agents faces, memory, session problems, responsible AI. Today, AI can be misused in many different ways. How you safeguard that? Then we are talking about fine tuning. This is what exactly what you will be mastering in our program. So why don't we waste our time? So let's get started. So this is what exactly what I'm talking about. What makes you a good generative AI, agentic AI engineer? See, today a client comes and asks you a question. So I need to build let's say I want to solve this particular problem by using AI. So probably today the top-notch technology that's available on the internet is agents, agentic AI, and multi-agent application. So do you go ahead and suggest agentic AI application for all the solutions, for all the, all the problems that you do have in the world? Definitely not. AI agents or agentic AI may not be the hammer for all the solutions. See, how do you, as a good generative AI or agentic AI engineer, how do you pick a right solution for the problem that you do have? So that's what exactly what makes you a good agentic AI engineer. That's what exactly what we are focused to learn here, not just building a random applications, right? So this is what exactly the four approaches what every organization follow in order to make their LLM, LLM based applications to their production, right? See, every organization, they start with this funnel. So from prompt engineering to RAG systems, fine tuning and training a model. See what happens. Yes, every enterprises are exploring these four different approaches to kickstart their LLM journey. So ranging from easy and inexpensive to complex and, let's say, the costly cost to deploy, basically, that we're talking about. So easy and cheap to difficulty and expensive, right? So obviously, starting from the top most on top of a pyramid, yes, that's where the easy things comes. And once you go depth into the pyramid, that's where, let's say, difficulty and expensive comes to the picture. See, every organization should have that particular AI maturity. So before they are getting started, and they should have a capability to pick the right model. And again, they need to ensure that they have an availability of a data and with the right use case and with the right investment. So obviously, this goal is to select the approach that best aligns with the company's overall AI strategy. So what is this prompt engineering? What is this RAG? What is this fine tuning or training? And what is this agentic AI or AI agents that I'm talking about, right? So obviously the first step, organizations would start from prompt engineering. Let's say if a client comes for the problem, first an organization see, can I solve this particular problem by using prompt engineering? Yes or no? He analyzes that. So what is prompt engineering anyway? Can we solve that problem in prompt engineering? So obviously many enterprises begins their LLM journey using this cost efficient and time efficient approach by directly calling a third party AI providers. See, where is this LLMs are hosted? You can host it, possible, but yeah, you cannot host it because of the, let's say, the huge infrastructure cost. Let's say in order to host this LLM, one GPU cost will 35 lakhs. You need GPUs like H100, H200 GPUs. That's why most of the organizations, they don't host their own LLMs. That's where we rely on model providers like OpenAI, Cohere, Anthropic, Bedrock in AWS, AI Foundry in Azure, or let's say Vertex AI in GCP, right? So obviously we try to call those models. How do you call those models which is hosted on Cohere? Let's say we're talking about OpenAI, Anthropic, through APIs. Yes. So obviously we know that, however, this generalized LLMs may not always provide the desired responses unless the prompt is framed in a specific way, are guided with additional examples, are in a good direction. That's where the importance of prompt engineering plays very important role. So the process known as prompt engineering, so obviously requires creative writing skills and multiple iterations to ensure the best possible response actually, right? So for an example here, you can see I'm saying that you are writing an email on behalf of someone. Take the important, I mean, so take the input below and write a longer polished version of a text. Keep the tone professional and friendly. And here's the input. Great to meet. Can we talk? So this is your prompt, goes as an API call to the third party API providers like OpenAI, Cohere, Bedrock, etc. And what happens? You get a response back as a complete professional email written for you, right? So that's basically a prompt. Prompting is what? It's all about the input that you feed to an AI, so AI can able to write the response. See, you might say that I do use ChatGPT for almost 3 years. I'm a good prompt. I'm a good prompt engineer. Definitely not. So prompt engineering is not about using an AI, giving a right input to get the desired output. How do you do that? There are tactics, there are techniques, examples you pass. There is something called single shot prompting, zero shot prompting, role assignment, right? So that's what exactly what it makes a good prompt engineer. So then obviously the first approach is an organization will see, can I able to solve the customer problem by using prompt engineering? If he decides, no, I cannot, that's where the next approach comes. He will go ahead and see if he can able to solve the problem by using what we call it as RAG, retrieval augmented generations, what we call it as RAG. So what is this RAG anyway? So let's discuss. See, we are talking about any foundation model or any large language models, which is trained on this general knowledge data. So which makes them less effective for generating a domain specific information. So what do you mean by that? See, if I go, let's say you talk to any AI. So consider that you're working on XYZ organization. Okay, you're working on an XYZ organization. So let's say you're going and asking this AI, can you just get me this employee details? So you'll be providing an employee ID, some employee unique ID. You're working in whatever the company, we provide an employee ID. So you're asking this AI to get the complete information. So what department, what projects that he's been on board. Do you think AI can able to answer that? Answer that in a chat window. If AI can able to answer that particular question that I mentioned, just go ahead and mention that in a AI. So we know that AI cannot. So because AI don't have an access to the real-time informations, right? So therefore, businesses often need to deploy LLMs on their own data to address this specific use cases, such as maybe, let's say you want to build an internal chatbot, so which can able to answer, maybe your HR is using this particular chatbot to get this customer, I mean, not customer, let's say an employee information. So HR want to fetch a specific employee information. HR will pass, okay, just can you just get me this employee details? I just want to know what CTC he has and what are the projects he has. Let's say maybe your organization wanted to build such kind of a chatbot, right, for fetching this information, for internal chatbot, for IT support, etc. So this also helps in, let's say, generating up to date or private responses. However, in many use cases, there might be not enough data at all. There might be only few hundreds and thousands of examples to justify. Maybe we might think. So maybe we can fine tune the model, right? So let's say model doesn't have enough information. I can go ahead and fine tune the model. No, that may not be a best approach. If you have just a few hundreds of information, it is not a best approach to train the model. Training a model is too costly than implementing a RAG. Then what is this RAG? We'll discuss that. So what is this RAG? We call it as retrieval and augmented generation. So basically RAG can able to improve obviously prompts by adding an external data such as documents are part of them to basically help the LLM to give more accurate responses. See what happens first, the data is retrieved from an internal store. So for an example, in this use case, let's say we go ahead and fetch some document informations, right? So from the internal store, we fetch the data. So both the prompt and the documents are turned into what we call it as embeddings to calculate how similar they are. So based on a similarity score, the relevant data is selected and added to the prompt, right? This is where what we call it as vector database comes into picture. Okay, not so much complex things. Let me just simplify that, right? So let's go to the architecture. Let's explain that in a very simple way, how you can able to understand that, right? So let me just have some water. Okay, see the first step. So this is where is your AI is. Okay, so this is where the AI is. Forget about everything. Let's go to the black screen. So here is your LLM. And basically your HR is asking this particular question, right? So your HR, or maybe it can be you itself, you're working in that specific organization. So maybe what happens, you are asking a question to the chatbot, a chatbot that is built by your organization, saying that, okay, I want to take an maybe so let's say maybe you want to take a maternity leave. So let's say you want to take a maternity leave. So what is a procedure? How many days I might get a maternity leave? So what happens usually questions like this, we go ahead and raise these questions with an HR, but you do not ask this question to an HR. Basically, you want to ask this particular question to your AI, which is built by your organization, right? So again, do you think your AI can able to answer this question? Definitely not. If HR asks the question saying that, okay, can you get me the specific employee ID? I want to give him a leave. Maybe if HR asks that question, AI cannot answer that. That's where the RAG comes into the picture here. See, consider that before we heading towards this particular architecture, I will explain the RAG in a very simple form. So here is your large language model, which is actually used to build that particular chatbot. So what you're trying to do, let's say you're creating a database, or let's say what we call it as vector database. So what happens, your organization is going to dump all the real-time informations they have, like a documents, employee informations to this DB. And what happens right now? So whenever your customer asks a question, right? Let's say as a customer, it can be HR, it can be you. You're asking a question related to, can you let me know what is a maternity leave benefits that I can enjoy from this organization? So you know that LLM cannot answer that question because it doesn't have it in knowledge. So it will go ahead and refer to a vector database. It will go ahead and do the search. It will extract the top documents. So maybe out of 1,000 documents he has, it extracts the top 5 docs, which has the right question, right answer to that right question, right? So basically, HR asked the question saying that, can you get me the a specific, let's say, employee details, right? So that's an input. So obviously your LLM go ahead and search the vector database, fetches that document, and along with that document, with your question that you inputted, it will give you the a response basically. So it will provide you the response back to you basically, right? That's how let's say the RAG works. So let's get started. So first of all, let's say we'll be getting started with here. So obviously what happens, first of all, an organization want to grab a lot of data. Let's say we are talking about you're building a RAG based application for a chat bot, which is going to answer all the employee questions, HR questions, any employee want to answer, ask any questions related to their organization. So for an example, HR would like to fetch the details of their employees. As a you as a employee, you want to know the benefits that organization offers. So what is the maybe for an example, if you want to take a leave, a maternity leave, what are the rules? And let's say if you want to ask a question related to, okay, what is a travel policy tells? Let's say maybe you want to go for traveling for a business trip. So what is a policy, the rules that you need to follow? So let's say maybe you have a document that is related to sexual harassment, so you want to, your HR want to search for specific norms or etc, right? So they don't want to go for, let's say, hundreds of documents for every rules and regulations that you follow in your organization. What happens, you have hundreds of pages of PDFs that you can able to browse through. Instead of that, so this is where we're going to automate everything through the AI. So let's what happens. So first step, organizations going to grab all this raw data, PDFs, everything they have in their organization. So they do extract this particular data, PDF, OCR, etc., whatever they have. And what they do, the first step they do here, they do chunking, right? And step number C. What do you mean by chunking? So chunking strategy is nothing but taking these documents, cutting and chopping these documents into multiple pieces. Because what happens, your AI cannot I mean, it's like your AI, you cannot feed the entire amount of PDF text documents that you do have into your AI in a one shot. So because AI doesn't have such a huge mouth, yeah, simple as that. So that's why you cut and chop your documents. And this is where we do have an embedding models. Why we need embedding models? We do understand that your LLMs just understands the numbers, right? No text, no images, videos, right? So here we use an embedding models. The only goal of embedding models to convert your text into a numbers, right? As I mentioned in a previous example, let's say here you pass a word, hello AI world. So your embedding model convert that into a number, right? So 1980 or 123, etc. And then what we do, so then we take all those numbers, we go ahead and store it in a vector database. So what we do, we take this entire data, PDF, text, or let's say it can be CSV files, anything that you do have, we convert that into embeds, we store that into a vector database. So now what happens, a vector database is a database. So this vector database has all the informations in your organization in the form of numbers. And this is where, let's say, the customer side of an AI comes in the picture. So this is where, as a user, let's say user go ahead and ask a question. So let's say it can be HR, it can be you. Let's say you're going ahead and asking a question. So can you get me and details of this employee? Or let's say you are going and asking a question. See, I want to apply for maternity leave. What would be the policy says? How many days that I can able to get a leave? That's a prompt. So this particular query will be also getting embedded. So you are asking that particular question. Your question will also change that into a numbers. So 1001 or let's say 2436. And what I do, I will take these numbers, because in a vector database, I do have a numbers. I will take these numbers and I will go ahead and do search. It's like a Google search that I do. So what I do in this vector database, I go ahead and search for the top documents. Maybe I will go ahead and say, I want to fetch the top 5 documents, relevant documents. Because what happens in this vector database, your organization might have stored huge amount of data, the data related to leave, data related to harassment policies, data related to travel policy document, increment policy documents, etc., whatever it is, right? Reliving policy documents, etc. So, but you are questioning this RAG, saying that what is a maternity leave that I want to fetch? So maybe related to the leave, they have 5 documents, maybe out of 1,000 documents they have. So it is fetching the 5 relevant documents. Now I will take that 5 relevant documents. I will feed that as an input to your LLM with a prompt that you have, right? So with the question that you asked, now what happens? AI has a question that you asked, which is in the form of prompt, and the relevant documents. With that, AI is going to answer your question. And as a customer, you get the output, you are happy. So this is how the RAG works. So basically, you're giving an access to the real-time informations. You take all the data, you put it in a vector database, you convert that into numbers, you do the search, extract the relevant data, you pass that to your AI, and AI can answer your question. right? Isn't it awesome? Yes. With that, what is the next thing that we're going to explore here, right? So we do understand, so what is prompt engineering? So first you see you can able to solve the problem with prompt engineering, then you go to the rack. So obviously the next thing before we talk about fine tuning, let's talk about what is this AI agents or agentic AI that we are talking about in the today's world. Obviously the last year and this year is all about AI agents. We're talking about not just agents, building a multi agents, right? But when I'm talking about these agents or agentic AI, so what is this agents or agentic AI? Obviously they are almost same, but there is a thin line difference. Let's try to understand that. So when I'm talking about AI agents, consider that they are actually a programs designed to perform a specific task based on a predefined rules actually. So they operate within a set boundaries and they do not learn or adapt behind their initial programs. So consider that AI agents are an example of you give a specific task to it, it will exactly go ahead and do that task and it will complete. It has no capability to think beyond that particular boundaries. When I'm talking about agentic AI, this is where we are talking about an advanced AI systems comes into the picture. They're capable of independent decision making, continuous learning, and adapting a new situations without the explicit human interactions. Obviously, why don't we understand with a simple example here? Let's try to understand this. Okay, so forget about AI agents or agentic AI. First, let's try to understand a simple analogy. So let's say you go to a restaurant with your family, for an example. Okay, so consider that you are going to a restaurant with family. There is a Suresh who is a waiter who comes to your tables and he asks, okay, so what do you like to have today, sir? And you order him saying that, Suresh, I need biryani. Can you please go ahead and bring a biryani? So, and Suresh does exactly what you said. He goes to a kitchen, prepares a biryani, he brings back the biryani to you. That's an example of AI agent. He does exactly what you said. He don't things beyond that particular boundary. But now let's talk about an agentic AI application who is a Rajesh, who has a capability to make independent decision making, continuous learning, right? So consider that same facts. Let's say here your family orders a biryani. But what Rajesh does, Rajesh understands the situation. So Rajesh thinks independently. He has an access to a tools. What do you mean by tools? Okay, he will see what's the situation in the kitchen. How many biryani orders are in a place already? So how much time it will take if I want to prepare a biryani for your family? That means I don't want your family to wait for a long hours for eating that biryani. So then he might also think, what's your favorite? So last time, because Rajesh understands you, you might be a regular visitor for that hotel. He understands what's your favorite, what's your family eats, etc. And he also thinks about a weather maybe. So it's a hot summer that you're coming in and you're ordering a biryani, and he understands the situation in the kitchen, and he also understands the situation in he also understands your favorite. And Rajesh says, so why don't you try this vegetarian meal, which is famous for today? And again, we're talking about it's a pretty much hot summer, so maybe it may not be a good to have a biryani for your kids. So Rajesh is so much intelligent, right? So Rajesh is an example of agentic AI. Let's have a real example. As I mentioned, so traditional AI is basically an example of an agent. So you give a task, let's say Suresh as an AI agent does exactly what you said. But when I'm talking about Rajesh, who is an intelligent AI, agentic AI, has an access to the tools. So let's say I talked about a RAG, right? So obviously an agentic AI application is combination of LLM, RAG plus actions. So an agentic AI application, putting in a even more simple way, consider that an agent which can able to take an action behalf of you. An agent can have an access to the tools like a function, for an example. Let's say AI can able to make a API call to a weather station. API can able to go ahead and make an API call to a kitchen to see what's the so much what is a total number of orders for a biryani is in pending. AI can able to go ahead and make an API call to fetch your own favorite food varieties that you have that Rajesh as an agentic AI has obtained. Consider that an agentic AI, or let's say what I'm talking about, an AI agent, is a combination of LLM, RAG, and tools where it can able to AI can able to use it to take an action, right? So that's what exactly an example of what I'm talking about agentic AI. With that, So today, the world is running on top of multi-agent orchestration tools. See, let's say here I talked about one agentic AI application. So where one agent has an access to multiple tools, it can call weather, it can check the status in a kitchen, it can check your favorite food, and it can also get some informations in a rack. It answers your question. But what if I have a pool of multiple AI agents is working for you? So here is an example. So as a user, so you're interacting with this complete AI agent orchestration that you built. So basically, we are talking about a team of AI agents are planning a trip for you. Consider that we are talking about multiple AI agents together. So here we have a coordinator agent, flight agent, hotel agent. We are talking about, okay, other kind of an itinerary agent, budget agent, or let's say we are talking about let's say local info agent, right? So let's say you're giving an input for a coordinator agent. So saying that plan a 5 day trip to a Japan for me with a budget of $2,000. So what happens? A coordinator agent, consider that again, a coordinator agent can have a RAG, it can have a tool, it can have a multiple access to the tools. May not be the tool that I mentioned, like a weather call, checking the status in a kitchen, a different tools that you can able to build as an agentic AI engineer. So what coordinator agent is, coordinator agent assigns a job to the different agents that we have built. A coordinator agent will assign a job to a flight agent. The only goal for a flight agent to figure out the best flight options for your budget. It will go ahead and search. Obviously, it will have a tool. It will go ahead and access the internet. It will go to mybooking.com, etc. It will find the best flight for you. And again, hotel agent, same way. It will try to find a best hotels based on a location that you are obviously that you're reaching in. Then we have itinerary agent. Obviously, will create a day-wise itineraries with must-visit places and activities. Maybe you're going for Japan, right? So, what are the best places that you need to visit? Must visit places. It will do that planning. A budget agent, which is the one which is going to track the your budget and optimize the expenses. Obviously, you want to stay till let's say below $2,000. And location info agent will be responsible for providing a local trips, weather information, transport, and travel guides. With that, it creates a final travel plan for you, which is under $2,000. Isn't it awesome? You can able to build such kind of a multi-agents today by using a different frameworks. So how do we master this anyway? This is where you need to learn these different tools in this world of generative AI. See, obviously, when I'm talking about the generative AI tech stack, right? So today, the world runs on cloud. Do you have any doubts? Right? World runs on a cloud today, right? So obviously, today the production workloads, it can be any kind of AI workloads, including the AI agents and generative AI, runs on top of this cloud. But this cloud runs on compute systems like obviously today NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, GPUs, that what organization uses to do that. On top of it, this is where we have a foundation models which acts as a base. See, whether it be a prompt engineering, RAG, AI agents, agentic AI, multi-agents. Everywhere, LLMs as a core base, foundation models. You use OpenAI models, Llama models from Meta, models from Amazon. It's up to you. So then comes maybe you want to do the fine tuning that we will discuss later. Then this is where we are talking about operation side of that AI. So our ML ops are what we're talking about, LLM ops, prompt engineering, deployment, monitoring, observability, tracing, etc. Then comes data platform and management for data cleaning, creating a data lake. So vector store. So vector store is nothing but a database where we put in all the data where AI can search from the data and answer your question. Then comes we are talking about application experimentation, horizontal apps, vertical apps, scaling, etc. that we're talking about, right? So today we do understand the world of AI runs on a cloud. So what, because as I mentioned, there's a 360-degree view of AI agents and generative our agentic AI. So we do cover Gen AI and agentic AI on all the three cloud platforms with hands-on exercises, right? We do cover AWS, Azure, GCP. So why cloud? We do understand that today most of the workloads runs on the cloud, and again organizations couldn't able to let's say host their models on top of their own GPUs because it cost, let's say, thousands and thousands of dollars. Let's say we're talking about per month, right? So saying that the cloud platforms that we cover, AWS, Azure, GCP, and including we're talking about open source tools also get to covered in this particular program. Okay, so anyway, so we talked about prompt engineering, RAG, AI agents, multi agents. How do we build it? This is where we are talking about open source tools and frameworks that comes into generative AI. Let's say you might say, Sharath, I want to build prompt engineering based applications. I want to build applications. I want to build agents. I want to build multi agents. This is where you want to master frameworks like LangChain. That's a Python SDK, which lets you build any kind of a generative AI application. LangGraph, that lets you build agents. Let's say we're talking about single agents to multi agents. We talk about MCP. So MCP will give a power for your AI for calling a tool. Every agent calls a tool, a weather API. It can be calling a kitchen to get the order status, right? It can be anything. So then comes we are talking about A2A. A2A stands for agent to agent. That this is the protocol that we use to build a multi-agent application. Are using Strands agent, are using other frameworks. Facebook AI similarity search for let's say for a vector store. Agent development kit. Today we do a separate SDK specifically made for building in agents. ADK from Google. Are using other open source vector databases like Chroma, Pinecone. Then comes for observability, monitoring and tracking, evidently AI, Llama Index. We get to cover in this particular program. So then obviously we are talking about for production, no sandbox learning, just a production that I'm talking about. So we learn generative AI, we build single agents to multi agents to prompt engineering to RAG based application on cloud based tools dedicatedly made for generative AI. We cover Amazon Bedrock for Gen AI and Agentic AI, Azure AI Foundry and Azure, Google AI Studio, including a lot of other tools on a cloud for deployment, operations, monitoring, traceability. Talking about Tavly, application insight, or let's say using CI/CD, right? So AI search for vector search, etc. Right? And so today one of the very important challenges that organization faces. So monitoring, performance evaluation, observability. See, monitoring ensures real-time tracking of a model accuracy. So today, we can build AI agents, multi-agents, and a single agent can have hundreds of tools. Just imagine a multi-agent can have hundreds of tools. How exactly are you going to track your AI's trace? How exactly are you going to track which agent is using which tool provides which output, whether that output is right or not? This is where monitoring plays very important role in order to measure your model's accuracy, biases, drifts. While your large language model evaluation checks, okay, we are talking about text quality, coherence, correctness, for an example. And again, we are talking about heuristic based metrics such as BLUE score, Rogue score, Meteor score, Bird score. There are a lot that we're going to explore. And talk of a town today, LLM as a judge, which automates the evaluation process for scalable and consistent scoring technique for any generative AI, agentic AI applications that you build. So together, this techniques helps improve the reliability, accuracy, and fairness of an LLM. So this program just not talks about prompt engineering, RAG, AI agents. It talks about monitoring, performance, observability, memory management, etc. So then we are talking about another biggest problem that today we face, responsible AI. You know that in a world of generative AI that I'm talking about, an AI that can generate a text, images, videos, and this content that AI generates can be misused by a lot of people, correct? AI can obviously people can able to generate an offensive text which can hurt someone. People can able to generate a picture, an image, a video that can hurt someone. So this is where every organization has to follow the responsible innovation. So responsible AI refers to an ethical and accountable development and deployment of your artificial intelligence systems. So obviously it ensures that your AI models that you build, the solutions that you create are fair, transparent, secure, aligned with the human values while minimizing the potential risk and biases. So what is a responsible AI? Pretty much simple. So today as a user, you go ahead and invoke any generative AI models, image, text, audio, video. You can go ahead and generate whatever the content you need. See, what if user is trying to generate an offensive text or image which might hurt someone? This is where a responsible AI comes. Consider it's like a filter. A responsible AI as a filter can able to block both users' input as well as the AI's input as well. Consider that as a user, you go ahead and ask your AI to generate some offensive text or offensive image or video. Your responsible AI says, sorry, I cannot assist you with that particular response. It's against my policy. Maybe if your AI has generated some offensive text by mistake, and again, your responsible AI blocks even an AI response, it will not let the user read it. Isn't it awesome? Yes, we will be also exploring the responsible AI. Followed by that, we are talking about a production deployment and scaling, right? So this program is not just about, because we say it's a 360-degree view of Gen AI and Agentic AI. So just learning an application building may not work. So this program also get to cover everything that you need to know in terms of operations, right? So yes, we will be exploring Dockers, Kubernetes, and cloud-based deployment on top of AWS, Azure, GCP, what we call it as serverless deployment, and deployment on container hosting platforms like Azure Container Apps. We are covering the Kubernetes on a cloud, or let's say container hosting platforms on GCP, including CI/CD for building an automation. Dep- Build, deploy, operate, scale your Gen AI and agentic AI applications, right? Through our program. So followed by that, then comes we are talking about fine tuning of our models. So this is where an organization, let's say we are talking about when an organization needs a model to be fine tuned with your own custom data. And let's say when your organization is looking for your models to provide a response in a specific format, right? So this is where organization thinks of fine tuning. So for enterprises cases, obviously we are talking about lots of data, and let's say we are talking about critical needs. When we are talking about fine tuning your model is your data. So fine tuning a large language model can be, yes, too costly, there's no doubt about it, but it can be cost effective than we are talking about training a models from the scratch, right? But how fine tuning works. In a fine tuning, basically the model is updated with your own specific data. So it learns from it. So you don't need to send examples or exact context in a prompt. It reduces the cost and privacy risk. Obviously, it avoids token size, limits, and improves response speed. So obviously, this is where we are talking about the model gives a better and more accurate answer with greater flexibility. So when fine tuning is actually worth for any organization? So fine tuning is best if you have a large number of instructions. And again, especially if your organization is looking for your AI to produce a response in a specific format. So consider that here we do have a travel policy document of your organization. So you want you to fine tune it. So you, first of all, you go to a fine tuning platforms like Bedrock, Azure AI Foundry, or Vertex AI. And then you go ahead and pick a foundation model like a Llama model, Claude model, and then you go ahead and fine tune your AI model on top of Bedrock with your own custom travel policy document. So now you have your own fine tuned model. Maybe I will say Citron version 1 Claude model, Citron version 1 Llama model. So now this model can go ahead and answer any question related to travel policy. There is no need for RAG here. Just by simple prompt, your AI can able to answer. So I'm directly updating the knowledge of a model, right? So some of the challenges of fine tuning. So obviously it takes a lot of time, lot of resources, lot of money. So obviously you need to prepare your data carefully in a right format for a training. So obviously you can use many different platforms. It can be Bedrock, Azure AI Foundry, or on Vertex AI. You can actually fine tune your model. So saying that, then we are talking about ML ops for LLMs, or what we're calling it as LLM ops, right? So obviously we're talking about an operation side of an, let's say the AI that you fine tune, right? So basically it's all about building an automation to deliver your large language models to the production. So obviously we are talking about building a complete automation. So what happens? The first step, we start from data preparation and versioning. So consider that you want to take your own organization data, you want to fine tune that your own fine tune open source model that I mentioned. So you automate every step. So you will be automating the steps of taking the data and doing the supervised fine tuning. So taking the model and fine tuning that particular model with your own data. So what happens when you are fine tuning your model with your own data? You get your own artifacts. That means you get your own large language model. Maybe I will call it as, okay, Citron, Llama, because maybe let's assume I have fine tuned a Llama model. So I would say Citron Llama V1 model. So I have my own large language model. I have version one of my model. What is the next step? This can be my first pipeline. So this is my pipeline number one, which takes the data, trains a model, and generates artifacts, my model. Then the second pipeline, I will take my first version of a model, which I thoroughly tested it is working. Now again, I run the pipeline and I will go ahead and deploy my large language model to the production. So maybe on my own GPUs, for an example. So once my model has been deployed, so then comes the further steps. Maybe you go ahead and implement prompt engineering, you invoke the model with a prompt, so you get the prediction. And you go ahead and implement what we call it as responsible AI, which acts as a filter again. So this is where we are talking about where even the user inputted text, if user is trying to generate any offensive text, it will be get blocked. If AI is also generating some offensive text, it will be getting blocked. So this is the complete and automation in terms of delivering any large language models to the production. So what we call it as LLM ops. So then we are talking about finally training your own model from the scratch. So you answer my question. Let's see who is going to answer this. So do you think we can able to we can able to train our own model from the scratch in next 1 hour? Even I will give an entire day. So do you think you can able to train your own large language model or any Gen AI model from the scratch with your laptop, not on a cloud, with your laptop? Do you think it is possible? 100% not possible, right? So because training a large language model from the scratch is a highly high intensive work. It requires a large, humongous amount of data, domain centric data. And again, it costs millions. Just here you can see a Gemini Ultra model for Google to train. It cost them $191.4. And I'm just talking about a smaller models alone. Today we have even bigger models. I'm talking about, let's say, Claude Opus models, 4.8, Fable 5. We're talking about other such huge models that's outside in a market, right? So Llama 2, it took $3.9 million. GPT-4, it cost $78.4 million. So training a complete model from the scratch, it's not possible, and not every organization does it. Obviously, still, you can train the models when you have such huge investment with the huge amount of data, right? So however, this approach is also most what we're talking about most expensive and difficult to implement. For an example, yes, organizations like Bloomberg, they have built their Bloomberg GPT. So obviously we can say it's a first financial LLM they have built. So was trained on 700 billion parameters, billion tokens of financial data. So the cost of training such models can run into millions of dollars, as I mentioned, depending on the size of a model and the amount of a compute time that is required. So obviously, this is where an organizations decide, right? So whether to use prompt engineering, that's what exactly we are talking about, a funnel. So first they decide, so can we just solve the problem by using prompt engineering or a RAG? And then we talked about, okay, can we able to solve the problem by using building an agentic AI, or can we solve the problem by using let's say multi-agent orchestration, or by fine tuning the model, not by training, fine tuning? Then only the last stage, maybe an organization make a decision to train the model. Isn't it awesome? That's exactly what we are heading towards, a production grade Gen AI and agentic AI program. With that, I don't want you to make you wait for the long time. It's time for you to have an awesome demo. So what I'm going to show you in this demo, there are two awesome demos. Only the folks who are going to stay till end of this program can able to enjoy. The first demo, I'm going to show you how to build a live agent on top of Azure. Second demo, I will be showing you how I can able to generate an AI generated video, not just video and audio, by using a VO models. Let's get started now. Yep. I believe you could able to see my screen. So obviously, I have already created my, let's say what we call it as Azure AI Foundry project. So we'll be getting started with Azure AI Foundry in detail when we are getting started with a live session. On top of Azure Cloud, I already created an Azure AI Foundry hub as well as a project. So here you can able to see right now I'm on top of Azure AI Foundry. One second, let me have some water. We'll get started quickly. Okay. So right now we are on top of Azure AI Foundry. So we will be getting started with Azure AI Foundry in detail, end to end. When we are getting started with the program, we'll be exploring all these options that we do have in detail. But anyway, let's have some quick tour of few options that you can able to find, right? So right now, let's say in an overview page where you can able to initially find an API keys, SDK informations for any organizations to go ahead and build a generative AI applications. So we'll go for model catalog. So model catalog is let's say we know what is a catalog is. So model catalog is a catalog where you can go ahead and find all the different kind of models which is being available on top of Azure AI Foundry. See, as we're talking about, let's say Azure itself, they might have their own Gen AI models, and Azure has partnered with other providers, like let's say obviously as we discussed, Azure has a closed Azure has an investment on OpenAI. You can find all the OpenAI models on top of let's say Azure AI Foundry. You can able to see that the latest GPT-5 Pro models are available on top of let's say Azure AI Foundry. Not just that, you can able to see we do have models from Grok, Elon Musk, you know it. And if I scroll down, you can able to see a lot of other models. You can see models from DeepSeek. So if you scroll down, you can see the models from Llama. So we do have all the latest Llama models on top of Azure, like Llama for Scout, Llama for Marvick. We do have models from Cohere, again from Mistral. There are a lot. You can able to go ahead and browse through, let's say different kind of providers that we do have. So you can able to easily go ahead and pick the model. So here you can able to see the different providers that we do have: OpenAI, Mistral, Microsoft, Core, Photo, Cohere, right? The different kind of providers where Microsoft has collaborated with. So what we will do, first step, I will show you how to deploy this model to the production first of all. Okay. So here, yes. So I will be going ahead and picking a, let's say a simple model. So I will go ahead and pick GPT-4 or GPT-4 or even a GPT-5 we can pick, not a problem. So here I will be simply going ahead and pick, let's say GPT-4o model. Perfect. So once I select this model, all I need to do, click on this, use this model. So once I click on this, use this model, and you can able to see the basic informations of what we're going to deploy. So this is the name of my deployment. I will be calling it as GPT-4o. There are different kind of deployment types. There is something called global standard, our global batch. There are different options. We'll talk about what is this different deployment types later when we are getting started with the live session. And you can also see where exact region this particular model is going to be deployed. So by default, it's going to be deployed on East US2. That is perfect. I will simply click on deploy. That's it. That's all what I need to do. Okay, so let the model be deployed. In the meantime, the model is getting deployed. So let me just talk about what is this AI agent that I'm talking about. Okay, so let's say we're going to build a personalized, a travel assistant AI agent. So what do you mean by that? So consider that we all go for our vacations, trips with your families. It can be your friends. See what we do. We go ahead and book some packages, right? So there are a lot of, tourist companies, tourist guide companies outside in the market. I mean, internet. You can go ahead and talk to them. You can book, let's say 5 days, 5 days, 6 nights trips for different countries. Let's say maybe you want to go for Paris. You want to go for Andaman. You want to go for Switzerland, etc. You might we all have our own dreams, definitely, right? So what if, let's say, instead of you making a call, let's say for an example, let's say if I want to plan a trip for Switzerland, I might be going ahead and making a call to the let's say a travel agent company where I will go ahead and browse for the informations. I will be asking a couple of questions. So what would be the costing? What are the destinations? How many? I mean, first day, where are we visiting? Second day, where are we visiting? What are we going to do? Where are we going to have a dinner? So we all have those questions. What we do is basically we go ahead and call a specific travel agent company, and we talk to the human beings over there. So what if the concept is if we can completely replace the human beings here just by using AI agent? So what I'm going going to build is this. So you know who is this person? Obviously, this is us. So an user is going to have a conversation with the AI agent that we're going to build on top of Azure AI Foundry. So we'll be going ahead and building a RAG. Obviously, in a RAG, we will be going ahead and storing all the details of a specific travel agent company. Maybe a specific travel agent company is providing a tour for different countries. Maybe let's say we are talking about this specific documents which I would like to store in the RAG. So let's say we'll talk about this specific travel agent company. They're offering, let's say, trips for Andaman Nicobar Islands in India, Europe trip, they have Paris trip, they have Switzerland trip. Okay, so these are the documents, but you can just go ahead and store as many documents that you need. But right now I'm just going with this 4 documents. If I go ahead and enter inside this documents, all you can able to see a complete brief description about a complete details about a tour. Let's say here we have amazing Andaman, the duration, number of nights that you're going to spend, number of days that you're going to spend, some destinations that you're going to visit. And I do also have some costing per person per day. I just put it as 1,000 rupees a day. And we do have other informations, tour highlights. We have what are we going to do in a day 1, what are we going to do in a day 2, what are we going to do in a day 3, what are we going to do in a day 4. So I mean, including the locations where we're going to stay, what time that we're going to arrive, the activities that we're going to do over there. So what is included? Let's say for an example, if you're purchasing any tourist package, sometimes the tourist company might include the flight charges, they might not include the flight charges, they might include a local transportation allowance, they might not. So there are different questions, the different things that we would like to ask, right? So whether breakfast is included or not, lunch is included or not, dinner is included or not, right? So we do have all those questions, but literally we ask those questions in a phone conversation. But what if we can able to replace that with AI agent? I'm going to store all the informations in the RAG, I mean all the tourist destinations. And then here I have a tool. Basically, when I'm talking about AI agents, our agentic AI is all about an actionable AI. So AI agents can able to take an action behalf of us. So here I have something called GST calculator tool, because let's say here I'm going to say my query would look like, I'm planning for a trip to Switzerland. I'm just coming, let's say I'm planning to come with 5 people's, I mean, which is my family. I would like to know what would be costing for 5 people's when I want to visit Switzerland. So obviously here the GST calculator tool will be triggered by AI agent. So your AI agent will call this GST calculator tool in order to calculate what will be the total bill amount with the GST that I'm going to pay. Yeah, very much simple. So let's get started. So now I have deployed the model, because your model is going to play a very important role. We call your model as an engine. So your AI agent will be powered by a GPT-4o model that we have deployed basically, right? So now I will quickly go to this agent section towards left side navigation panel. Okay, so here I will be going ahead and proceeding by clicking on, let's say, create an agent. There's one dummy agent. So I will just simply click new agent. So yeah, so I have some new agent has been created, a dummy agent. So I will go ahead and give it a name. So I will just call it as travel agent. So this will be my agent name, and your agent will be powered by GPT-4o model. I mean, you can use any model as I mentioned, but here I'm just going with GPT-4o model. And here I'm going to allocate some instructions. And instructions is basically what is a duty. So basically we can able to allocate some skills to your AI agent. So this is what my AI agent has to do. You're a personal travel assistant helping people plan their holiday trips and recommend the best places to visit. Perfect. So then comes, so this is where we have an options to allocate different kind of tools, different kind of components to build your AI agent. So we have knowledge, and knowledge is nothing but knowledge base. We can also call a RAG as a knowledge base. So this is where I'm going to click on add, and this is where I'm going to create a knowledge base. We do have a lot of options to create a knowledge base. We'll discuss in detail later. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly go ahead and upload all the files that I do have in my local PC to go ahead and create what we call it as a vector store. So here I will simply click select local files. Yeah, here are all the 4 documents that I'm talking about. I'm going to click open. I'm going to upload and save all the 4 files. So, I mean, with this 4 documents, I'm going to create a vector store. A vector store can be also called as a RAG, or let's say, I mean, a vector store is basically what we're talking about, a DB. So, where we go ahead and query for the context, as we discussed already in our architecture. Perfect. Okay, here we go. So I'm done with, let's say, creating the knowledge base. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do, as I mentioned, the next part in my architecture, we're done with RAG. The next thing is we need to go ahead and calculate a GST calculator. A GST calculator, for an example, it comes under, let's say we are talking about an actions. So what kind of an actions that your AI has to take? So let's say I will be chatting with AI. I will be asking, okay, I would like to visit Switzerland for 5 people. So what will be the, let's say, a GST bill for me? So what happens when you're asking such kind of a questions? Your AI will use a tools that I've attached under actions in order to calculate that GST bills. So I will quickly go ahead and click add. There are different tools that you can able to link, which can be part of your tools. You can also call a functions, but here what I'm going to do, I'm going to call a code interpreter. So what exactly a code interpreter does, here it will go ahead and execute a code in order to calculate a GST in order to calculate a GST. So what I will do, so here we can go ahead and upload any different kind of a code. It can be C, C++, Python. Yes, I do have a Python code. Let's say this is the Python code that I do have. All it does basically, I will be not going into this code in detail. So basically here the GST is for 10%. So it's going to read the total number of days in, and let's say number of peoples that we're going to visit, and number of days. Based on that, it's going to calculate a GST. I will be simply going ahead and selecting this particular Python script. So here we go. I do have this Python script. Yep. So this is going to be my tool. I will simply click upload and save. That's it. We are all done. Okay. That's it. We are all done. So now let me just wait for this tool to be created. Okay. Perfect. It's getting ready. Yeah, perfect. That's it. We do have our AI agent that is ready. So the name of our agent is called Travel Agent. It's going to use a model GPT-4o model. It has a knowledge base. It has a tool. And we do have model settings like temperature and top P. These are basically what we call it as hyperparameters. We'll discuss in detail later. So this hyperparameters would helpful for you to understand how good your output you're looking forward. Let's say we are talking about whether you need more creativity or you want more desired results. Yeah, this is good. So what I will do, I will simply scroll up and you can see we do have an option called try in playground. Yeah. So I will be simply going to the playground. Yes. So this is where I can go ahead and chat with my AI agent. Yep. So now let me just get started. So what I'm going to do is this, right? So let's say here I have my, let's say details. So I will be opening any one of the document here. Perfect. So let's say this is the Andaman document. Perfect. So now let me just go ahead and type the query, right? Okay, I am planning for trip to Andaman with 5 peoples. Can you get me places that I am going to visit and use the tool to calculate GST. Okay, GST bill for 5 peoples. Okay, so let's say this is my query. Let's see what your AI agent has to respond for us. Yep, here we go. You can see it says looking for the references. Basically, it's using the files that I have provided in order to go ahead and look for the informations. And you can see this is the magic. This is an actual magic. So here I'm not asking your AI to, let's say here I'm not triggering anything. Here I'm not running any code. All I'm doing is I'm just having a conversation with an AI agent. An AI agent takes care of everything. So let's say this is the highlights what we got. So for your trip for Andaman with 5 peoples, the tour package consists of highlights. Yeah, you can see Port Blair, Havelock Islands, Neil Islands, duration, and cost calculation. You can see a cost per day is 1,000 rupees for 5 people's daily cost is, yes, 1000 into 5,000 rupees, and for total 6 days, it's so far it's calculated. You can see, I mean, let's say 30,000 rupees, what it has calculated. So GST bill calculations, for calculating a GST bill, you can see it is actually going ahead and using the code interpreter. A code interpreter is an actual tool that I have created as part of an AI agent. It's using this code interpreter in order to come up with a GST invoice. You can see here, let's say the base cost is 30,000 rupees, and GST for 18,000 is 5,400. I mean, basically, your AI is using something called code interpreter to run the code, basically. So because your AI cannot run the code by itself, it cannot compile the code. So that's how it works. So here, the another magic, I can also go ahead and interact with voice mode as well here. So let's say I will just quickly click on this voice mode. Hey, hi. I'm planning for a trip to a Switzerland. Can you just get me a quick brief of what is included in a Switzerland and how much they are costing for per day? Yeah.
Got it. Continuing with your Switzerland trip details. Package highlights. 1. Interlaken. Boat ride to Thun, visiting Schadau Park, Trummelbach Waterfalls and St. Beatus Caves exploration. Chocolatier tour to try Swiss chocolate tasting. 2. Lucerne. Mount Titli's excursion, snow activities and iconic views. Lake Lucerne cruise and sightseeing. Tour at Chapel Bridge. 3. Zurich. Zurich City Tour, Bahnhofstrasse, Old Town and Lake Zurich. Rheinfalls visit. Cost details. Cost per person per day, 15,000 Indian rupees.
Okay, perfect. So anyway, we know that. So I can also go ahead and interact with the chat. So this is one of an example. And what is the capabilities? What kind of an AI agents that you can able to build? So here I'm just using a console to go ahead and build this AI agent. But what we going to do? We're going to build this kind of generative AI applications for the real time use case. We'll be using a source code. We'll be using an SDKs which is provided by Azure AI Foundry. Just imagine the same kind of a scale, the same kind of a project. I mean, this is just a basic, such a high level projects that we're talking about where you have multiple agents coming together. We will be building such kind of a AI agents projects, not just on top of Azure, AWS, Azure, as well as GCP, including open source tools as well. So yeah, so saying this, quickly, I would like to also give you one more demo into, let's say, Veo 3 on top of, let's say, Google Cloud. So here, for getting started with Veo, I will be getting into Vertex AI. So one more demo. So let's say we are talking about a video generation service. So perfect, let's get started. So I will be getting started with Vertex AI. So we will be getting started with Vertex AI, I mean, in detail. So for generative AI purposes, perfect. So with that now, I will be quickly showing you how we can go ahead and generate a VO3, a video, a real-time video with audio. So audio also will be generated by your VO models here. So I will be clicking on generate a video. So here you can able to, obviously, this a viral model, Nano Banana. You might have seen people using Nano Banana to generate pictures. You can also use Nano Banana. There are different models. So what I'm really interested is a VO. I will be going ahead and selecting a VO. So VO has a lot of models within the cloud platform. So here I will be using VO3 fast model. So totally it is producing 4 videos it will generate, but I will just go for one video. It will be 16:9 ratio video. It's going to generate a maximum of 8 seconds video. That is fair enough. Here I can change the resolution 720 to 1080p. I will go with 720 just to make sure that, okay, I can quickly go ahead and generate this video. Okay, so here comes my beautiful prompt, folks. Okay, you can see, just go ahead and read this prompt. So here I say, yeah, a bustling Indian flower market filled with a vibrant marigold and jasmine garland. A man picks up a garland and says, "These flowers carry blessings." A woman smiles and whispers, "Then let's take them for a Diwali festival tomorrow." The ambient sound of a market chatter and temple bell fills the air, right? So let's get started. So, yep. So now it's going to take a couple of minutes for this video to be generated. So we'll be also getting started with, let's say, what we're talking about, image generation, video generation on top of our program as well. With that, let it take some time for videos to be generated. In the meantime, we'll go back to our slides and we'll discuss about further topics. Now let's discuss about career opportunities in Gen AI and Agentic AI. Okay, that's perfect. So obviously, everyone we are trying to upskill. Obviously, moving on to the new fields and new technology that we're trying to head. Obviously, to make our life better. Obviously, to get a better pay scale, right? And again, so when I'm talking about the job opportunities in Gen AI and Agentic AI, is literally booming like anything else in this present year. But yeah, so before that, I would like to just definitely talk about the famous quote that is made by Bill Gates. You know, Bill Gates is a billionaire and again is a founder of an Microsoft that we know. And again, today, Bill Gates is known for his predictions actually. You know, Bill Gates is the first person who made a prediction of COVID is going to arrive. COVID did arrive to this world, right? And again, he's actually quoted this word in a couple of months ago, obviously in a late night show. So Bill Gates says that AI is the only technology that has no limits. So what does that mean for you? So obviously, you know that the entire IT world is having the fear of this, let's say, layoffs. You know that most of the layoffs that's happening, obviously, those are the jobs which can be easily replaced by an AI. And again, an expert says, people like Bill Gates says, obviously AI is going to replace the jobs, but AI is going to create a lot more jobs like never before. That's where exactly generative AI and agentic AI jobs are being positioned. So there are a lot of different jobs in this particular industry. We call it as generative AI engineer, agentic AI engineer, prompt engineer, AI engineer, AI safety engineer. There are a lot of opportunities that exist. So let's say today, obviously we are all running into a secure job, so maybe I don't want to have another layoffs. That's the kind of a job an agentic AI and generative AI job is. Why? This is what exactly this code says. So AI is the only technology that has no limits. Let's say when I'm talking about AI is not a word that we coined last 3 months ago or last 3 years ago. AI is exist in this world almost more than a decade right now, right? Starting from, let's say we're talking about an AI that helps you to classify the emails in your Gmail, like a spam emails, promotional emails. From that time to today, we're talking about multi agents that we're talking about. So today we are talking about agentic AI. So tomorrow we might talk about AGI. Day after tomorrow, I mean, not day after tomorrow. Let's say AGIs are nowhere in this world today. So maybe next we are talking about AGIs, then ASIs, artificial general intelligence, artificial super intelligence. That's where we are heading. So AI is going to take a different turn, and obviously the peoples who are in the AI world has an opportunity to, I mean, exist in this industry forever. So again, so that's where exactly we are heading. And again, saying that who can be part of this Gen AI or agentic AI that I'm talking about, right? So anyone from IT background can transition into Gen AI or agentic AI world that we're talking about. So definitely, Gen AI or agentic AI does comes under the development field. Let's say here it can be an existing AI or ML engineer who want to upskill and get started with agentic AI. Yes. Are any data scientist or researcher? Are any software engineer developer coming from an existing development background? So here we go. You are getting into the another development background, agentic AI or Gen AI development background. So you might be coming from cloud or DevOps engineer. Yes, you can transition into Gen AI and agentic AI. Applied scientist, any AI enthusiast, any tech professional. You are coming from non-technical background, but you have some good technical skills like a basics of programming, like Python. 100% you can transition into Gen AI. Or let's say startup founders, entrepreneurs, product managers, business leaders, or anyone who is interested to learn AI and to make your any AI applications to the production. So that's where this particular program can be a perfect suitable for you. See some of the job roles that we can definitely expect outside in the market. So one is, let's say we are talking about AI, generative AI engineer. It's a default role that we are talking about. So other kind of a roles where you can be part of, let's say where you can expect to have, let's say the Gen AI and agentic AI skills. Yes, we are talking about starting from data sciences to you can work as an AI prompt engineer, robotics engineer, AI complaints manager, AI product manager, cloud and DevOps engineer, someone who want to transition into AI, Gen AI and agentic AI, software developer. Maybe you want to transition into Gen AI or agentic AI, possible. Any tech professionals, ML ops engineers, maybe you want to transition into AI into, I mean, transitioning may be a wrong word, especially if you're already in a AI domain like ML ops engineering, right? So you're upskilling on a, let's say, new technology here, I would say. AI researcher, AI architect, machine learning engineer, right? So saying that, so today generative AI or agentic AI is a trend. And again, the salaries are getting skyrocketed today's in the world. So an average salary for generative AI engineers in Bangalore, it starts from 46.7 lakhs. I'm talking about someone who has a 2 to 3 years of experience. An average is 44 lakhs, right? In Pune, it is somewhere around, let's say, 43 lakhs. Globally, we are talking about, let's say, $115,000 per year, right? And again, when I'm talking about the AI job vacancy trend is being skyrocketed, you don't see such kind of a trends in any other job industry. So go ahead and check it yourself by using this IT Job Work UK. So saying that, how much time we have? That's a question. See, when I talk to most of the peoples, we are doing this generative AI program for a couple of years already, right? From the day that when Gen AI came to the market, right? So I talk to the peoples. I can see most of the peoples who I talk to, right? I'd say I will register for the next batch, Sharad, okay? But in a alternatively, I could able to see the folks who have already signed up for a program. They hardly take 1 to 1.5 months to transition and get a job into Gen AI and Agentic AI. So now they are working as generative AI engineers, Agentic AI engineers, handling multiple projects with better pay scale than ever before they have got it in their life, right? So let's say here is a hard truth, right? Let's talk about this beautiful example that I used to quote every time. See, you know that drones, we are pretty much aware about drones, right? See, this drones to replace this entire market, it took 10 years actually, between 2009 to 2019. When we go back to 2009, no drones. Let's say if I want to shoot a movie, let's say if a news reporter has to capture the news, they need a chopper and a cameraman. That complete industry been replaced just with the drones right now. It took 10 years, but you don't have such kind of a time today. See, when I'm talking about the world of Gen AI and Agentic AI, they are evolving not every year, not every 5 years. Every day, every month, you see a new innovation. You know that every month we see a new update, a new model that is coming to the world, right? So these models are replacing the existing models outside, let's say, which is a previous models that they have, right? AI is evolving. AI needs constant update. So there is no escape from learning. You tell me, as an IT person, can you escape from learning or can you escape from an AI? Not possible, right? So this is where we can help you. So that's where we are getting started with our brand new batch on Gen AI and Agentic AI, where you can learn AI agents and building and multi agents, learn, build, operate, scale, monitor observability, everything in a one single program. We're getting started with our next batch of Gen AI and Agentic AI from 13th of July with a minimal of only 20 seats per registration. So we are looking for, this is a program, we are looking for 3 months. It's a 3 months program, and we are talking about an 100 plus hours of program. So this program is on weekdays. Hardly we are looking for just a 2 hours of session every day between 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Monday to Friday. So let's quickly understand the program structure. This is how the program works. This program happens on every weekdays, Monday to Friday, between 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. IST. And every next day, you'll be getting an access to the recording. And we do also have what we call it as debugging sessions, which is doubt clearing sessions. So it's a 3 months program. Or let's say we're talking about around 120 to 130 hours, what I'm expecting. Almost 85% of the time that you're going to spend in this program, you'll be busy building live hands-on projects. We are planning more than 20 plus hands-on projects across all this prompt engineering, RAG agents, multi-agents, deployments on a various different clouds. Consider that when you're working, you're stuck somewhere, you need some assistance, you have some error. That's where you join a debugging session. At least 2 to 3 debugging sessions we might conduct Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Based on your time availability, you can also join the debugging session. So followed by that, now let's go ahead and get started and let's talk about our actual program. So Gen AI and Agentic AI specialization course, we are looking for, yeah. So it's not 100, I would say 120 to 130 hours. That's what we took in our last batch. We're looking for more than 25 plus hands-on labs, 25 plus real-time projects with one-on-one debugging across multi-cloud with open source tools that I'm talking about. So without wasting a much of a time, what would be the pricing structure looks like for this particular program? Let's have a quick discussion. So here we have a 3 different pricing structure, not one, because most of the folks who comes to this program, they're not just here to learn. They're here for more than that. So this is where we do have a 3 different pricing plans. You can pick what you need. So we call it as advanced, advanced plus, and basic. So our advanced plus plan cost around 54,999, and our advanced plan cost around 48,999. Our basic plan cost around 45,999. So why we have these three different pricing options? Let's discuss one by one. So consider that if you're someone who is just interested in upskilling only, you say that, okay, I don't need any support. I don't need support in optimizing a resume or interview preparation support. You just go for basic plan. If you're only interested in upskilling, so you get access to the live sessions, access to the recordings, debugging sessions, some free resources. Or if you're someone who is looking for some premium support, most of the working professionals, they prefer to go for advanced or maybe advanced plus plan, what I have seen, because that's most popular. So everything in a basic is included in advanced and advanced plus. You get access to the live sessions, access to recordings, debugging sessions. But what is additional in advanced and advanced plus plan? So here you get 6 months of support, resume preparation with bonus reattendance. First, let me just talk about bonus reattendance, which is exist on both the plan. So bonus reattendance is an opportunity. By registering once, you get twice the chance to take a batch, because most of the peoples are working professionals who take our program. Consider that if you're stuck somewhere, maybe let's say if you couldn't able to attend a couple of sessions, you get one more retake option in the next batch. Consider that you're attending our current batch. Even after completing a current batch, you get a chance to take a right next batch completely for free. You will be automatically added. Saying that, you get 6 months of support with resume preparation. How does that work? So this is where we have a proven 4-step framework. So this is where the support framework comes into the picture. It's a 4-step. Step number 1, resume preparation. Consider that you're coming from a cloud background, support background, non-technical background, or maybe AI background. So how does your resume should look like? If any HR checks out your resume, it should say that you are a generative engineer, architect, specialist. So this is where we help you bias your resume. Visit for a sessions. We look into your resume. We look into your past experience. We help you bias that. So then comes, we also help you in optimizing your job portals. Let's say it can be LinkedIn, Naukri, Indeed, right? Glassdoor, Shine, etc. To make sure that okay, you're getting some good interview calls from reputed organizations. Then comes, we are talking about step number 3, JD decoding sessions. So this is where we play very important role. So what do you mean by that? See, having a solid resume can get you a better interview call. There's no doubt about it. But if you have an interview call, that doesn't mean that you got a job. So you need to have a strategy, a plan, a story, how you deliver your technical round of discussion. So let's imagine you have an interview day after tomorrow. So before you sit for an actual technical round of a discussion, you bring the JD. We both sit for the discussion. So we go through the JD. We understand what key tools, technology, cloud they're looking forward. We help you in narrating the story. That's what exactly you go ahead and deliver it in an interview. And that helps you to crack the technical round of discussion and adds more confidence what you need to attend that interview. Then comes technical job support as step number 4. Consider that, okay, you have, let's say you got a job, you're working, you're stuck somewhere, but you need some assistance. So maybe you need some sample code, architecture review, brainstorming, some consultation. So you can able to use this support. This is what exactly what I'm talking about, a 4-step framework. So you get 6 months of support in advanced plan. If you go to advanced plus plan, you get 1 year support. But one more key difference in advanced plus plan, what most of the people's like, they say that Sharath, I don't have 3 months to wait and learn this program. I want to learn quickly. So this is what exactly what we do. We give an access to our previous batch recordings, someone who signed up for advanced plus plan. You get access to our recordings in next 24 hours. Let's say you complete the registration today. You can get started with our program in next 24 hours. This is what exactly advanced plus plan. So if you're looking for the pricing structure in USD, our advanced plus plan starts around just $699, and our advanced plan starts at around $599, and our basic plan starts around just $549. And we do have the EMI support on both the plan, all the 3 plans, on major credit cards and debit cards. Okay, with that, it's time for the surprise that I talked about, right? The surprise only eligible for the folks who stay till end of this particular program. But here is a fact. I'm not going to reveal this particular surprise right now, because I'm going to reveal this particular surprise once we go ahead and discuss about the awesome curriculum that we do have. right? So before we discussing about the surprise, do you remember that we started generating a video by using an AI? Let's have a quick look into that. Let's quickly go ahead and take a look. Do we have a video got generated? Okay, here we go. Wow. So the video got generated. So we have generated a video by using a VO3 model on top of Vertex AI on top of GCP. This model not just generates a video, it also generates an audio. Can we go ahead and listen to this particular video? Right? Let me just go ahead and play it.
These flowers care blessings. Then let's take them for the Diwali festival tomorrow.
Perfect. Yeah. So we know this is the power of video generation. With that, now let's get started with discussing about our awesome curriculum that we got. Then we will quickly go ahead. I will reveal the surprise as well. So I will be sharing this particular PDF to everyone. So this PDF has A to Z that you need to know in terms of what we cover in this particular program, the advantages, the testimonials, the pricing structure, everything that you need to have, including my contact information, so you can reach out to me anytime, right? So now let's go ahead and discuss about the awesome curriculum that we do have. Okay, so this entire program has around 12 modules that we'll be covering for next 3 months. So yes, we'll get started with module number one. So module number one is all about introduction to generative AI. So this is a module where I will be introducing to the world of generative AI, to understanding what is top-notch technology that is available for Gen AI today. So this is where we'll be understanding the different types of generative AI technologies, text, image, audio, video, etc. And then comes, yes, very important discussion here, how to improve LLM results, which is nothing but, see, let's say we talked about various different things, prompt engineering, RAG, fine tuning, AI agents, right? But how do you become a good generative AI developer? What do you mean by that? So tomorrow, how do you solve a problem? So do you build AI agents for all the kind of solution? Definitely, that's a bad idea. AI agents are not the hammer for all the kind of solution. When do you pick AI agents? When you pick RAG, when you pick fine tuning, when you do prompt engineering, right? That's what exactly what we'll be learning. And here we'll be also learning about different kinds of RAG, like RAG, Graph RAG, CAG, CAG, etc. And module number two is basically a prompt engineering. This is where we'll be deep diving into prompt engineering. We'll be doing a lot of hands-on projects, understanding, let's say, different prompting techniques like basic prompting, clear and direct, assigning a role, role prompting, for an example, right? And yes, advanced prompting techniques as well. Then comes, yes, building a complex industrial grade project. Yes, we'll be building a complete Gen AI project just by using a prompt engineering. And also we'll be doing a A/B testing to see which prompts works out for your client, which doesn't, right? Then comes module number three is where we'll be diving deep into generative AI capabilities on a multi-cloud, AWS, Azure, GCP. So yes, before that, we'll be deciding which kind of a model that you choose. How do you choose for your Gen AI application, right? So there are various different model providers like AI 21 Labs, Amazon, Anthropic, Cohere, right? OpenAI, for an example, Gemini. So how do you pick the best model? So then comes, we'll be exploring the different tools on every cloud. So as we discussed, AWS as Bedrock, we'll be exploring the Bedrock capabilities, right? So what are the different tools Bedrock offers? Are discussing about other cloud assistants like Amazon Q. Exploring Google Cloud for generative AI capabilities. This is where we'll be exploring Google AI Studio and Vertex AI for building a production grade and generative AI applications, and talking about agent building tools on top of Vertex AI, right? Then comes exploring Azure for generative AI. They call it as Azure AI Foundry, right? How to work with Azure AI Foundry, how to create a projects over there, right? Hubs and what is a service, for an example. And yes, then comes, we'll be getting started with module number four, right? So module number four is basically what we're talking about, text generation on top of AWS, Azure, and GCP, right? So this is where we'll be getting started with building more than one projects in terms of by using an LLM. So you can see there are different projects in terms of text generation, code generation, text summarization, for an example, and multi-clouds. And then comes, we'll be getting started with Azure AI Foundry for text generation. So we'll be using and deploying different models on top of Azure AI Foundry. It can be FIFO model, OpenAI models, how do you deploy and how to build generative applications. And then comes, here we'll be exploring about Google AI Studio or a Vertex AI for getting started with building Gen AI applications. We'll be building a real-time food recommendation apps, are using different APIs of Gemini's. We'll be going ahead and playing with that. So then comes module number five. So we'll be getting started with advanced RAG and even a document processing, right? So this is where we'll be building at least one project on every cloud based on a RAG. Yes, we'll be deploying a RAG based applications on top of Amazon Bedrock, on top of Azure AI Foundry, as well as on top of Vertex here. not just a cloud, right? So yes, this is where we'll be getting started with open source tools like LangChains, diving deep into understanding LangChains for RAG. And yes, we'll be building one end-to-end project deploying LangChains with RAG. So then comes, yes, Llama Index, for an example, diving deep into Llama Index and also building a project. And then comes understanding different vector databases in depth, and understanding different databases like Facebook AI similarity search, Pinecone, or Quadrant, etc. Right, and then comes understanding, let's say, advanced vector database operations and chunking strategies, agentic RAG, not just agents. Let's say we are talking about understanding how to build agentic RAG applications as well. So then comes, we are talking about module number 6. Yes, this is where we'll be heading towards image and video generation as well as multi models, right? Getting started with multi models. So this is where we'll be getting started with using different tools for how to generate a production grade images, are using Gemini for using these imagine models. Let's say you know that Nano Banana, right? How to use Nano Banana APIs for generating an images, are using Azure AI Foundry, DALI. For video generation, yes, today we do have a lot of options using this VO 3 3.1 as the latest model. And let's say on top of AWS, we do have Amazon Noah models for video generation, and also playing with multi-model processing, like playing with multi-model embedding, right? So, and other advanced multi-model applications. Then comes module number 7, is where we will be talking about model customization and fine tuning. So this is where we discuss the fine tuning, and one project will be built on fine tuning any one of the LLM that's outside in the market. So obviously, when to do fine tuning, what could be the cost benefit analysis on top of it. Yes, so this is where we'll be fine tuning a model on top of Azure AI Foundry. Yes, we'll be directly fine tuning a GPT model. We'll pick any one of a GPT model outside in the market, and we'll be also talking about other fine tuning technique like PEFT, right? Other techniques. So advanced fine tuning techniques, model quantization, otherwise putting in a very simple way, model optimization techniques. Okay, then comes the long awaiting module, module number 8, agentic AI and workflows. So this is where a specific module completely dedicated for building an AI agents. We spend a lot of time here, right? So we'll be getting started with AI agents, fundamentals, understanding the types of different AI agents, right? Then comes on every cloud. Yes, every cloud will be building an AI agent applications. We'll be getting started with Amazon Bedrock. Amazon Bedrock has their own frameworks, own SDKs for building an AI agents. And then comes also understanding multi-agent support with LangGraph, not just a single agent. We want to build a multi-agent, right? So we'll be using LangGraph. We will see how we can able to build a completely open source AI agent, multi AI agent applications. I mean, projects, right? Then comes, let's say we're talking about Azure for AI agent. This is where we'll be exploring Azure Foundry for building an end-to-end AI agents, and also configuring a different tools to be part of that AI agents. Then getting started with Google AI Studio, also exploring Vertex AI capabilities for building an end-to-end AI agents, also deploying those agents on top of Vertex AI as well. So Vertex, I mean, when I'm talking about GCP got their own tools for developing an agent. They call it as ADK, Agent Development Kit. How do we get started with Agent Development Kit, and how do we build an agent and deploy it, right? So then comes, obviously, we want to build multi agents. We talked about LangGraph. Not just that, we will be also covering A to A, which stands for agent to agent. We'll see how we can able to build multi agent applications. So if you remember that the internet is talking about Cloud Code or Cloud Cowork is powered by multi agent frameworks. So then comes MCP, Model Context Protocol. We'll be also exploring how to use MCP. MCP is basically a tool provider for your agents. We'll be using MCP, and one project will be built. And then comes one production ready agent frameworks and a complete end to end. Just remember, like, we are talking about operations plus deployment, integrating CI CD, DevOps practices, building your applications and deploying it to containers, for an example, monitoring that applications in a production, right? Yes, the complete end-to-end taste, right? How it works in your organizations, and exploring other agentic frameworks applications. Then comes module number 9, is the important module, because just by building generative applications does not makes you a generative AI developer. So obviously making sure that monitoring the performance and monitoring and the performance evaluation of a Gen AI applications that you build is really important. So this is where we'll be getting started with observability and monitoring. Will be building a different projects on different clouds to understand how to perform monitoring and how do you evaluate your Gen AI applications. We'll be also exploring other open source tools like Evidently AI or ML Flow, how to use those tools for let's say evaluation. And again, talking about different kind of evaluation techniques like BLUE, GLUE, Rogue, Meteor. Looks fancy, right? But we'll discuss in detail. So then comes how do you evaluate your AI agents, or how do you evaluate a RAG? How do you know this RAG works and doesn't work? So then comes module number 10 is basically we're talking about responsible AI and ethics. We talked about the importance of responsible AI. So in this module, we will be in a real time, we'll be implementing a responsible AI services, a guardrails to your Gen AI application that you built. Module number 11, yes, again, what do I say? The important module. Just by building a generative AI applications doesn't make you a generative AI developer until unless you don't know how to deploy it to the production. So this is where we'll be talking about production deployment and APIs. We'll be exploring, okay, what is the CI/CD? How you can use CI/CD practices like GitHub or code build or code pipelines on top of AWS to deploy the generative applications. Are talking about containers and Dockers. Yes, we'll be talking about containers, how you can Dockerize your GenAI applications and how to deploy it. We'll be talking about Docker Compass. How do you deploy multi-container Gen AI applications? Then comes cloud deployment. See, AWS, Azure, GCP, they have their own tools for deploying with Gen AI applications. It can be container solutions, Kubernetes solutions using API gateways, serverless deployment platforms like Lambda, functions in Azure, functions in GCP. And also we'll be building a projects with that. And also as we're talking about serverless deployment with project. Then comes Kubernetes, understanding Kubernetes and deploying your projects on top of Kubernetes. It can be on premises, it can be cloud, etc. Then comes talking about MLOps and for LLMs, talking about the operations side of fine tuning and deploying your large language models. Then comes module number 12. Module number 12 is a self-paced videos. It is not covered under a live session, folks. Module number 12 will be sharing the pre-recorded videos. We don't have live session for module number 12. So here we'll be exploring other tools. Obviously, everything that we have learned on the above modules will be also applied here. So AI operations with MLOps and other Gen AI tools. So here you will be getting started with the operation side of delivering a data science models. Otherwise, what you're talking about, your actual fine-tuned models that I'm talking about, right? So you'll be exploring what is MLOps. You'll be getting started with understanding CI/CD, SageMaker, right? And again, so here you'll be building two different projects, understanding CI/CD. Then comes building an end-to-end machine learning pipelines. And if I scroll down further, so here we'll be exploring other tools for document processing. Let's say we'll be also talking about other open source tools for Langsmith for monitoring. And then comes the most important and interesting tools that we will be exploring throughout this particular program, AI powered development tools, right? So obviously today we are talking about, let's say the code IDs like Cursor, right? Which is actually literally has a power of replacing every developers in the market. So yes, here I will be showing how to get started with Cursor, and Google has something called Google Anti-Gravity. Not just that, we'll be also exploring about Windsurf, Replit, and the talk of a town again. Let's say we're talking about Cloud Code and Co-work, how to get started with Cloud Code and Co-work. Yes, we'll be also getting started with that. So this is about the awesome curriculum. Don't wait. We do have very limited seats. Seats are filled. That's it. We are not going to take any more participants more. So it's 20 seats only. So you can find other details in the same curriculum. If you scroll down further, so here you can see details of what projects that we're going to build throughout this particular program. So you can go ahead and read about each and every projects. And if you scroll down further, you could able to see the tools that we're going to master throughout this particular program, skills that we're going to master. These are the skills that you can possibly add it on your resumes. And if you scroll down further here, you can able to go ahead and access the same program fee that we discussed for INR and USD. And if you scroll down further, you can get a details of what we have in a plan in detail, FAQs. And then very importantly, definitely, I would definitely ask you folks to go ahead and listen to the glimpse of our happy participants, people who have taken other AI programs in our market. I mean, so obviously we want to make some difference and we want to be different in this particular industry, right? So go ahead and listen to this testimonials. Our participants does talks about our program, why they really feel happy, right, after taking this particular program. So we have seen people's ranging from minimal experience to maximum experience. We have seen people's getting placed in lead positions in AI industries. It can be ML ops, it can be generative AI. So you can take a look into all the testimonials, the feedbacks that has been shared, people who share their appreciations in a LinkedIn with the certificates. So go ahead and take a look. So this is the program for someone who want to become the actual generative AI engineers. Okay, now let's go ahead and reveal the surprise that has been awaited for a long time. So what is the surprises? Yes, so this is a kind of a ritual that we do. So before we start any new batch, for the first let's say 5 registrations, I mean, yeah, 5 to 10 registrations, so we'll be giving this offers, so which we call it as a free upgradation offer. So because most of the folks who would be registering for this particular program, they would be interested to go for either advanced plan or advanced plus plan. So are you a person, someone who's interested to go for advanced or advanced plus plan? This is for you, right? So consider that. Are you someone who is interested to go for advanced plan, which is costing around what I'm talking about, 48,999? So what I recommend, don't register for advanced plan. You simply go ahead and register for basic plan, which is costing around 45,999. We will upgrade you to advanced plan for free. So you register for basic, you get advanced. So followed by that, let's say this particular offer are strictly limited till 21st of June only, because as I mentioned, it's a limited time offers. We do have only 5 seats left eligible for this offer. Only who registers first within that comes within the 5 registrations, they will get upgraded. Otherwise, they will not get upgrade. So similarly, are you someone who's interested to go for advanced plus plan, which is costing 54,999? Don't register for that. Simply go ahead and register for advanced plan, which is around 48,999. We will upgrade you to advanced plus plan for free. So you can save around 6,000 rupees on registration. And again, this is strictly limited for 5 seats till 21st of June strictly. After that, you don't have this particular offers. So this is the awesome discounts that we do have. So proceed with the registration. And more importantly, definitely I would recommend you to go ahead and check the testimonials, because yeah, our participants talks about it. So you go ahead and see how our participants could able to shine and get in huge packages. We have seen our people's getting a minimum of 40 to 200% of hikes in the world of AI. So you can able to take a look into the testimonials of people who have taken our AI programs and how they could able to crack the job in 1 to 1.5 months post completion of our program. So go ahead and check. So why do you think Psitron Technologies are the best people to take this particular program? So because we have been in this industry for a decade. So we've been incubated by PhD Steps, supported in Government of Science and Technology, funded by Nidhi IR, awarded best startup award by FKCCI Bangalore, represented ourselves into multiple international stages. So go ahead and take a look into the testimonials. Our participants does talks about it. And again, one of our main USP of our program, as I mentioned already. So you will be in touch with the trainer. As I'm a trainer, you'll be having a direct contact with me till end of this particular program. So no need for you to raise your tickets. No need for you to go ahead and wait in a queue to talk to me. You have my number directly. You can go ahead and reach out to me anytime that you want. With that, now I will open the session for Q&A. You can go ahead and unmute your mic. You can ask your questions in the chat. Let's get started now.